because one is that the civil society leaders didn't come out against President Museveni. We were coming up for Uganda. So that was our motivation. That we have a country that has been, that one, it has not had a successful transition of power from one president to another. Number two, we've had a country that has not managed transition from one political party to another. So for us as organizations that have always worked on issues of constitutionalism, issues of governance, issues of justice, we consider that fundamental. So whatever contribution we can make, all of us, by the way, as individuals, as organizations, as a collective, we consider that important. So our work in 2016, because many of us were solidly behind the Democratic Alliance, the TDA, was essentially to say, let's have a coalition of progressive leaders who can rally around an agenda that makes a transition possible. So that was the motivation. Secondly, your idea that we rallied behind Amama Mbabazi is profoundly wrong. In fact, I believe that there is a lot of analysis, by the way. There are people who have published works and say TDA was Amama Mbabazi. But I don't think that Amama Mbabazi himself knows where TDA came from. No, I don't think he does. In this country, I can comfortably say there are probably only two people who can tell the complete story of TDA. Where it came from, how it manifested itself or how it projected itself, and how it ended. And Amama Mbabazi is not one of them, or even the people around him, by the way. So TDA was not an organization that was like, okay, this belongs to so and so. TDA was an idea, and it remains an idea, by the way. It is an idea that when you have a dictatorship, like the ones that we have under President Museveni, it is an idea where, when there is absolute state capture, then it basically rests on the citizens to be able to rally together and mount collective self-resistance to be able to resist the dictatorship and liberate the institutions of state from capture. So that is basically TDA, or that is the idea. So most of the people who have talked about TDA, they talk about it as an organization. I think that's a wrong way of talking about this, because those who talk about TDA as an organization, they even tell you that the TDA ended in 2016, which I think is wrong, because the idea that there is always a need for citizens to collectively work together and liberate state institutions from capture. That idea lives on. So in other words, TDA can manifest itself in so many forms as long as that is the motivation. That idea is the motivation. Yeah.
You talked about the two people, and that Gilbert was not one of those two.
Yeah.
Who are those two? Are they knowable?
I think that I think just for the sake of transparency, let me say that myself and Bishop Zach Niringia are the ones who can write the complete story of TDA. Why? Because TDA was conceived by a group of 7 individuals. Of the 7, Bishop Zach and I were the ones who were overtly political. We don't consider ourselves partisan people, but we acknowledge and we make no apologies that we are overtly political. Now, when the 7 of us conceived this idea and worked on how to execute it, Bishop Zach and I were assigned to be able to manage that process, because our other colleagues were also assigned to manage a couple of other things. So Bishop Zach and I were seated almost in every meeting of TDA that happened, right from the meeting at what is it called? Kingdom Resort, the one of Bukenya, the one of the place, Katomi Kingdom Resort, right from Katomi. Bishop Zach and I were seated in those meetings up to the last meeting when all the leaders who had been assembled agreed that they could not agree on a joint presidential candidate. The ultimate decision of TDA was to come up with a joint presidential candidate. And the moment that was not achieved, the idea was put in abeyance. So I would even say that the fact that the Go Forward group then branded themselves the TDA Go Forward was part of the deception, which I would say that probably Amama Mbabazi had carried from NRM, because NRM is a deceptive organization. It's founded on deception, and I think my view is that they then tried to hijack the idea. If you go back to the protocol of TDA, you'll find there a specific provision that says that in the event that there is no agreement on a joint presidential candidate, none of the entities there that signed the protocol would try to appropriate the name and the idea called TDA. So in other words, whatever Go Forward did was simply part of the deception that was not consistent with the spirit and the protocol of TDA. Yeah.
So Chief, you emphasize the transparency. Out of the 7 we so far not to. Who are the other 5?
I thought you wanted the ones of TDA. now, John, that you know the ones of TDA, the rest you can leave them. When we write the book, because one day we'll write a book about it, so we can talk more about them. But not at all. No, you see. No, you see. Let me tell you, John, that any time you or me spend trying to get this country to get better, nobody should ever regret it. And there are always different measures of success, degrees of success. There are also failures. But I think that as long as the spirit that drives you is motivated by this genuine belief and desire that the actions you are taking make our country better, I think, one, you should be celebrated. 2, even when you fail, you should not regret it because you made an attempt. I think the worst crime you can commit as a citizen is seeing things go wrong like they are doing now, and you are basically, you do nothing and you go into hiding. So as far as I'm concerned, no, TDA was a super successful idea because we were able to demonstrate that when the people are mobilized around a substantive agenda, they will focus on the discussion of the agenda. Because this was the first time that we were able to bring together political leaders from different persuasions, and they were able to sit together for 3 full months, and there is no fighting, there is no bickering, there is no leakage of information. And yes, and I attribute it, 1, to the professionalism that we brought into the organizing, but 2, that the leaders were focused on substantive issues of what a potential TDA alliance, what should be the agenda for the country. And so, because people are discussing substantive issues, they don't have time to go and bicker and quarrel and what. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a big success. And we were able to nurture a number of people. There are many people many individuals who profess to support the TDA idea that ended up in parliament, ended up in local councils. So I would say that the only failure was that we didn't achieve the joint presidential candidate. But TDA as an idea that Ugandans should collectively work together, notwithstanding our political differences, I think was a resounding success. Yeah.
Did you personally take some lessons, some personal lessons out of that experience?
I actually think that that's what I was describing was more of the lessons. One is that I think that when you bring professionalism into a fairly controversial process, there is a way it helps to organize things. Yeah? Number two, I also learned that the future of Uganda that we desire as a generation will not be built on existing political formations. No, because the political formations that we have now are equally broken, like all the other segments of society. If you think of one biggest problem that President Museveni has created with his 37-year rule, is that he has caused fairly comprehensive brokenness of our society. So when you see the political parties, they are broken. When you see the professional bodies, they are no more. The religious leaders have been co-opted. The civil society, the groups we call NGOs, they are scattered. The labor movement is gone. The academia almost hiding in their ivory towers.
Fortune hunting as well.
Absolutely. So essentially, you have comprehensive brokenness. So in other words, I believe from TDA, I learned that there is no single entity or single group that will claim that they are the ones who can lead us to paradise. Yeah? That's why I keep on saying that TDA taught me that we, as citizens, we need to mount what I call collective citizen resistance against the Museveni enarmed dictatorship. And unless we do that, then, and because you see, the Museveni dictatorship focuses on scattering us. Now, we have to find the means and the spirit that brings us together. Yeah? Because normally for you guys in the media, you write about how NGOs are scattered. But even you, the media people, you are hiding. So in other words, the Wanyankores normally say that orya hambwa and orya muhiji, meaning that the same trouble that is the dog is facing is also faced by the hunter. So in other words, you are basically, both of you have to work together to overcome that problem. So that's where Uganda is now. So that is one other lesson that I learned from the TDA. I guess the third lesson is the question of time.
The timing.
No. The timing is different.
Yes,
the time. That it will take a lot of time to be able to deal with the challenges that we have. Because you see, I am a very, very ardent reader of Martin Luther King's writing, Martin Luther King Jr. So in his letter from the Birmingham jail, which you should try out by the way if you have not read it, he basically writes that time is neutral. So in other words, time is ripe to do anything. So nobody should tell you about the timing. No, time is always right to do what is right. In fact, basically Martin Luther King Jr. says that good people use time more efficiently than bad people. So the people who are scattering you, they are busy planning. In most cases, they have resources at their disposal that you and I don't have. So while you and I go to sleep, the other ones are planning. So they are using time more efficiently. So in other words, and I think the more important thing is also where he says the oppressor cannot determine the timetable for your freedom. You know, when these NRM people have been able to rig elections and they're in power, they tell you the time for politics is over. Yeah, but who says, who determines what is time for politics and which is not? Yeah, so the oppressor cannot determine the timetable for your freedom, because then you will never be free. So that's my other big lesson that I learned from TDA.
But some people also have imagined that there was something wrong, that certainly this thing was captured. Because you see people who were key pillars, from JPAM to Betty Kamia to Honorable Mao and the others, have all ended up going to work with General Museveni. Why do you think that has happened?
Yeah, but I think that's also a wrong reading, because Betty Kamia was not captured from TDA. Betty Kamia was the leader of a political party.
Yes.
So why are you saying why are you saying she was captured from TDA and not from her party? Bukenya was the leader of some fictitious party. So he was captured from there. Mao was captured from TDP, not from TDA. So, because you see, political processes are fairly complicated. They are not hard and fast rules. It's not like a checklist where you can check. But for us who manage these processes, because we specialize in dealing with conflicts, in facilitating processes. So as you are doing this, you learn almost on a daily basis. So even with the TDA, there is a point when we were able to discover that, there were some people who were double dealing. Yeah, no, some of them are double dealing. No, it's like they're working for the other party. But because you are focused on the agenda, the bigger idea, you are not going to be derailed by the fact that John is trying to, maybe he's crossing over information and giving it the other side. No, yeah, you're not. That does not bother you. For us, once we confirm that that's happening, our focus becomes on how do you manage it so that it doesn't disrupt the process. And I think we're able to do it. That's why I'm telling you that we're able to hold these parties and these individuals for a full 3 months without bickering, without conflict. If you recall, I think one of the major successes of TDA was that there's a time when we removed Museveni and NRM from the headlines of both print and electronic media for 3 full weeks. The entire electronic and print media was reporting about TDA, and we didn't have even a coin to, the way sometimes we pay journalists and whatever. We didn't. I think there is a time when we had about over 30 journalists camped in TDA compound in Naguru. Looking for the news, they're waiting for the white smoke. Yeah, so you get it. So the point I'm making that you've created an idea, you make it big, and people buy the idea, and then you are able to execute it. That's a success. Society is built on ideas. It's not built on these funny things that we talk about, institutions, whatever. It's an idea. So even the guys like Museveni and his group that went to the bush, they sold to us an idea of liberation. Yeah? If all of you guys call them freedom fighters. But you see, none of us as Ugandans sat in a boardroom and sent these 27 men to fight for us. Did we? No. Yeah. So for them, they came up with an idea. They called it NRM something and went and fought. And all of us are there singing, these are freedom fighters, but who sent them? Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that you are talking about the power of ideas. So TDA was more of a manifestation of the power of an idea on how you confront a dictatorship that has basically captured state power and state institutions. How do you operate in that kind of environment? And I think that idea still lives on.
When have you talked to some of these colleagues who have since went back? Have you talked to any at all? Do you remember the last time you had from Japan, for instance?
Not. I think now time has passed. Mao we talk. Mao is a personal friend. Besides being a president general of DP, besides being a cabinet minister, he's a person. I consider him a personal friend. So that one, Mao, I know I can even pick a phone and give him a call. I think. I know he will take. No, if he doesn't take, because you know he lives down here, you can find me in his compound. Because I can go and force myself there. Because I said, man, we used to be friends. So, but I mean, he's one of the guys I admire as a person, I like his ideas. I like his oratory. I like his stories. They really fascinate me. So that one, you know, we talk as friends. A couple of others really we bump into each other and talk casually. Not really not that level of engagement.
Did you know about his decision to join the cabinet? Are you one of the people he consulted? He says he consulted widely.
But I think that's no. First of all, I normally don't engage in those kinds of discussions. I consider those decisions personal. So those are things they really don't take a lot of my time. So I follow them when they say, oh, Mao is negotiating with so and so. I mean I have personal opinions about most of these things, but I can't say that those opinions are gospel truth. So normally if someone asks me, I will just say that one. I don't think that you can have an impact when you join NRM, because you see, I have said time and again that NRM is a fictitious organization. You don't know what it is. If anything, these days I call it a corruption enterprise, because when you see the way it's running this country, the group, whatever you describe it, in whatever form you put it, the way it's running this country, that it is perpetuating the levels of violence, that is perpetuating, that it runs the national budget, that President Museveni will call all his NRM people, go to State House, spend our money. They go to Chankwanzi Leadership Institute, spend our money. But these are NRM people. They are doing part activities. I just call this a corruption enterprise. So I don't believe that by going into a mafia group that you are going to make a difference. I believe that you can talk to a mafia group and say, we can change the agenda. But for you to be co-opted into the group, I am not sure that you can make a difference. No, I don't think so.
The things he keeps talking about, you don't think even one of them is achievable?
No, I don't think so.
National dialogue?
No, I think I don't think that that group is configured on its own to be able to do the things that Chairman Mo is talking about. The only way it will be done, the only way you can have a national dialogue, a peaceful transition, is being able to bring Ugandans together. So Ugandans in political parties, Ugandans in professional bodies, Ugandans in their religious formations, Ugandans in their economic formation. You have to bring them together to talk about Uganda. There is no way. You can't tell me that some group called NRM or another group called FDC or another one called NUP, that each one of them, that individually they can enable us to transition into a better future. No. Where we are now, it must be Ugandans coming together to talk about the future. So what we need is a leadership that is able to that is able to bring Ugandans together, that is able to present itself as credible. No, right now, I believe President Museveni as a president, if he decided and put off his hood called NRM, he is one person who still has the mojo to be able to bring Ugandans together. If he says no, ladies and gentlemen, as a country, for the last almost now 60 years of independence, these are 6 decades, we've fought each other. We've been unfair to each other. But we should go forward together. And this is my agenda. This is how we go forward. I think that the country can easily mobilize around him. But as long as he sees himself as the chairman of NRM and the leader of NRM, and tells us NRM is the one which solves all our problems, even himself, he has no capacity whatsoever to take us to the future. Yeah. He is, in fact, if anything, he can easily become part of the problem. So then it becomes our job to make sure that he becomes part of the solution. But right now, really, the odds are against us.